Last night, Project Veritas released a video of a Pfizer director discussing the mutation of COVID for profit, preemptively mutating the virus so they can make vaccines and continue to make money. The video is so shocking. Many are saying that, one, it could break the internet. We'll see. Already, the corporate press is ignoring the story, though Real Clear Politics has picked it up. They're less so establishment. They tend to actually do some real news, so at least we've got some larger outlets covering this. But the story is absolutely crazy. It confirms the biases of so many people. To see a Pfizer director outright saying, you know that stuff that we're accused of doing? Like, we actually do it. Don't tell anyone, though. Now, the story is so shocking that many people are actually suggesting that it was a trap for Project Veritas. This is what I find crazy. You got people saying Ron DeSantis is a plant or whatever, or Ron DeSantis is deep state or something like that. And it's like, yo, Ron DeSantis is giving you everything you want. And so then you come out and you're like, must be a trick. Well, look, I don't know what to tell you, man. Okay? I'm not saying Ron DeSantis has to be your candidate in 2024. I'm saying if something comes out and in the simple solution, the solution that makes the least amount of assumptions is outright that this thing happened, and accept it. I know a lot of people feel this way. They feel if it's too good to be true, it probably is. But yo, my friends, I understand that sentiment, but this story isn't about anything being too good for anything. It's quite literally all of the evidence lining up and pointing in a direction that makes the most sense. It would be like saying, you know, this guy gets murdered, and we find a weapon with the initials, you know, a knife with GR engraved in it. And then we find a man named George Roberts who owns the same vehicle, whose initials match the murder weapon, who was seen by witnesses there, who was known to have been in an argument with the man that died. Now that's too good to be true. All those things point, no, that can't be. It can't be him. We're being set up. Oh, come on. When the evidence points in a direction, it's probably because that's it. And so everything we've heard about Fauci, NIAID, EcoHealth Alliance, gain of function research, now you got a guy on camera outright being like, yeah, we do this directed evolution stuff to make money, and that's probably how the COVID virus leaked from Wuhan. Just basically what the guy says. But for those that don't know the context, I know this story just came out last night. We talked about it on Timcast IRL. Let me just give you the quick breakdown from timcast.com. And don't forget, you can see up top, we got the Timcast event in Austin, April 14th. Click the banner at timcast.com. Get your tickets today. It's going to be fun. Timcast IRL live, which is really funny. It's like Timcast in real life live. It should literally just be called Timcast IRL. But check this out. Quote, one of the things we're exploring is like, why don't we just mutate COVID ourselves so we could preemptively develop new vaccines, right? So we have to do that. If we're going to do that, though, there's a risk of, like, as you could imagine, no one wants to be having a pharma company mutating effing viruses. Here's what ends up happening. People start questioning whether or not this guy is actually who he says he is. He's a little young to be like fourth in line at this company, right? He's saying everything we want to hear. How could that be true? And thus, we have this post, not this one right here, this one, from Radical Media Majid Nawaz. Did Project Veritas sting Pfizer, or did Pfizer sting Project Veritas? Interesting question. Now, first, before I get into the conspiracy, I want to make sure I stress the importance of the actual story from Project Veritas and who they have. Now, James O'Keefe has come out and said, we've obtained internal Pfizer documents verifying Jordan Walker as Pfizer Director, Research and Development, Strategic Operations, graduated Yale 2013, Dr. Med at U of Texas Southwestern Medical School. His supervisor reports to Mikhail Dolston, who reports to Albert Bourla, CEO. They got a lot of documents to back this up. So you have a guy who is documented working at Pfizer, who says a whole bunch of stuff. Here's how we transmit the virus to monkeys to make the virus change. I think the reason people might say Pfizer stung Veritas is because the story confirms everything people feared. Me, in my opinion, I'm just kind of like, oh, you got a guy on the record admitting to what basically everybody already knew about how they do gain of function research. They just don't call it gain of function research. I got to slow down. You know, the problem here is like there's a lot of esoteric stuff going on. Gain of function research is when they take a virus, they intentionally mutate it to make it more virulent, more deadly, and for whatever reason. So this guy's saying, no, we're not doing gain of function. Okay. We're just doing directed evolution. And it's like, bro, what's the difference? There's no difference. It's like the gag I used to, the analogy I would give is that Dr. Fauci is sitting before Congress, because this basically happened, and he's asked, were you doing gain of function research? And he's like, no, we were just mutating the virus to make it more virulent. So then, okay, we get it. It would be like if they said, Dr. Fauci, are there doors on the front of the NIAID building? No, that is incorrect. There are no doors. No, there are not. Then how did you enter the building? We have what we call portholes, which are rectangular holes carved out to the front of the building with a piece of wood and steel with a little knob on it, and you can turn that to open it as it rests on hinges. And you're like, bro, you're describing a door. That's what they're doing. When you're like, hey, are you doing gain of function? No, we're just doing directed evolution. This is serious. These companies do this. We know they do this. We now have a guy saying they do this. I got to ask, why would anyone just come out and be like, did Project Veritas get taken for a ride by? So you mean to tell me you think it's more likely? I'm going to read this from Major Dawes. I think it's important to ask, because whenever I see these stories from Project Veritas, the one thing I always do is I start digging into the background of the people that they're the subjects of their stories. This guy, Jordan Tristan Walker, did a cursory research, didn't find much. Apparently his information is being taken down, but other journalists have basically found this is the guy. Veritas says this is the guy. And James was, he's very much like, look, we did our due diligence. Here's what's funny to me. And I'll read the arguments here. But for anybody reading Majid Nawaz's article, and I have no problem with him writing it, do you think it is more likely that Pfizer took some random guy, claimed he was a high-level employee, put him on Tinder, then sat in wait for Project Veritas, sent him out with talking points? Come on, man. Now, maybe it's possible that companies like Pfizer would hire like 100 directors of research, give them all bunk information. That way, if someone like James O'Keefe ever came around, they'd get bad information. But here's why I think that's so insane. It doesn't matter if this guy was a plant or not. There's no way Pfizer is going to create a news cycle intentionally where it makes it look like they're doing things that are illegal. Just think about this. Like, would it be funny if we tricked people into believing we were committing crimes? No, it wouldn't. Your stock would tank. No one's going to fake this. Here's the story from Majid Nawaz. Did Project Veritas sting Pfizer? Or did Pfizer sting Project Veritas? Latest Warrior Creed podcast from Resistance Radio. And they say, this is a tale about proceeding with caution in everything, especially when the purported story confirms your own biases. Today, the internet has been very excited about the following story by undercover group Project Veritas. The video is worth watching in full. Absolutely, man. Check the video out. Here's a transcript, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to mention everything we've already explained with they're saying we're taking monkeys. We give the monkey the virus. We then get the most virulent strain and transmit it to the next monkey. And then you can control the evolution of the virus. It's crazy stuff. The counterpoint. If you have a gut feeling that this latest Project Veritas sting on a too young and naive seeming senior director at Pfizer is too good to be true, then note the below. The video contains what would be damning testimony against Pfizer. So serious is it that it could bring the entire company down and place Big Pharma into irreparable disrepute. Does that sound too convenient? Well, this is precisely why the story must be verified. Always guard against confirmation biases. Strangely unsuspicious that he may be the target of an undercover sting, the young man, Jordan Tristan Walker, sang like a canary. Investigative journalist George Webb has his doubts. This is just, I don't get it. You mean to tell me, Mr. George Webb, okay, I watched his video here, and he's saying it's a Hindenburg. He thinks Project Veritas got tricked. And we've seen similar strategies like this before. When WikiLeaks was putting out a lot of information, there was a security firm that said, let's seed false documents so that WikiLeaks then dumps them, and then we can say, aha. In fact, Veritas has been accused of something similar, planting a fake story with the Washington Post. I don't know the full details about that. Apparently didn't work out, or I don't know exactly what was happening. Here we have this George Webb saying it's a Hindenburg. So you mean to tell me, okay, that Pfizer thought it would be good for their bottom line to create the perception that they were committing crimes and putting the whole world at risk? I don't quite understand why would you create the story confirming the biases of the people who already don't like you? Why would you do it? Yeah, I don't think you would. Sorry, I just don't see this as being plausible or realistic. Maybe there's a 1% chance some Pfizer guy was like, I got an idea. Let's tear the company down. Yeah, but I don't think so. Doesn't seem to make sense at all. The simple solution, the one that makes the least amount of assumptions, is that this guy is who he says he is, and he said these things. Because again, I'll stress this. Imagine the alternative. Project Veritas is on Tinder, is what they do, and they're swiping on, swipe left, swipe no, I don't want him, no, I don't want him. Aha! A pharma employee, swipe right. Pharma employee then messages this hot young girl like, yo, what up, girl? Messages back, yo, what up? Or I think it was a guy in this instance, so I think maybe the Tristan Walker guy is gay or something. This is what Veritas does. They go on dates. So this guy's on Grindr or something or whatever app he's using, and then they're swiping. They agree to go talk. So you think that Pfizer hired a young guy, gave him credentials, propagated credentials on the internet verifying who he was, had people independently report to him so that they could verify it later on, and then they were lying in wait for Project Veritas to go onto a dating app, a gay dating app, to find this guy and then go have dinner with him so that they could plant false information with this guy he would then leak to Project Veritas. I just got to say, guys, calm down there a little bit. As much as we are keen to hold Pfizer to account, as well as Moderna, DARPA, WHO, WEF, etc., it does seem odd after so many Project Veritas stings, even previously on Pfizer staff, that this young man appears totally unsuspicious. No, it doesn't. They all do this every single time. We talk about it. How is it that James O'Keefe can get away with it over and over again? Guys, if there is an attractive young woman, or in this instance, a man, and you are a frumpy, unappealing individual who works at a major corporation that is wrapped up in controversy, and the attractive date you're on keeps asking you about the corporate malfeasance you're involved in, you're dating James O'Keefe. I love the crazy hot matrix. You ever see it? It's the gag where it's like, it's the grid showing how crazy a woman is and how hot a woman is. And then like 0 crazy and 9 hot, it says unicorn. Somebody remade it and they changed that one to James O'Keefe. That was really, really funny. Like, yo, that 9 out of 10 lady ain't dating you, frumpy big tech employee, okay? She's James O'Keefe trying to get information. It's funny because we make the joke, we say it all the time, but I don't think it has any negative impact at all on James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. But there's a couple of things I do want to point out. Imagine you do work at one of these companies now and you go on a date. You don't know if this person is actually just trying to sting you. And you got to understand, these people go on several dates with each other, right? So when you look at these Veritas videos, you've got numerous different settings where they talk about different things. Meaning, it's not as simple to say that you were talking about corporate malfeasance the whole time. The joke we make is that the hot chick sits down with the guy and she's like, so where do you work? He's like, I work for Twitter. Ooh, any corporate malfeasance you're involved in? Actually, we're targeting conservatives. It's not so cut and dry. Often what happens is they may say one thing and then the conversation changes because they don't want to blow their cover. They have more meetings. They collect a few points from different meetings and say, here's the stuff he admitted to us. We'll see, man. Is it possible? Sure. But James O'Keefe says they got the documents backing up he is who he is. And then you'd have to believe that Pfizer wanted negative press in this regard. That to me would be absolutely crazy. They say these documents don't, however, preclude from George Webb's concern above that Pfizer may have set the entire thing up for misdirection. How? How did they do it? They put the guy on the Grindr and then said, just sit back and wait? That makes no sense. On the other hand, the young man, Jordan Tristan Walker, may have thought he was on a date, drank too much and started flirtatiously singing like a canary. This is what we say all the time. It's a strategy that works. People just start talking. People, you know what it is? People want other people to know. They really do. For one, they want to feel important. They want to feel like a big shot. Look, I levied a little bit of criticism at Veritas a while back because they interviewed this guy at the New York Times and he was saying like, I can do these things and I do these things. And they're like, we have on record this guy admitting to these things. And I'm like, yeah, that dude's smack talking because he's trying to get laid. Like, come on, guys. That was a while back. Look, I think Project Veritas does really, really good work. Like this story here, like the Amy Rohrbeck story. There's so many important things. There was the ballot harvesting stuff they did. But I'm not here just to simp for Veritas. When they got that dude at the New York Times talking about social media, whatever, and they were like, look what we got. My response was, I know that guy. He's talking smack. It's like, there's a possibility some of these guys are on dates and they're trying to ham it up and be like, look, I can tell you all about this because I know. However, that's a minority of the potentialities in that most of these videos, you have people just being like, look, man, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And it's often because the individual interviewing them feigns ideological compatibility. So I don't think every circumstance is a guy trying to, ham up to some woman. I think many of these are someone being like, we really need to get CRT in schools so that kids can really understand the history. And then the guy says, that's what we're doing. We're doing that. Because you could argue perhaps they're trying to say, yes, I agree with you. Now date me, like a lot of these lefty guys do. But typically, from my understanding and my view, it's more so that they feel comfortable admitting what they're doing because they're ideologically driven to pursue these goals. Like if you were to undercover record me, you'd hear me being like, the corporate press lies all the time. These people are evil. What can we do to get more people to get behind our work, to get behind the work of any other anti-establishment entity that is trying to stop the manipulation and the lies? And I'm like, oh, hey, go for the expose, I guess. I say this stuff quite literally to the camera. The thing is, many of these people are not public-facing individuals like me. So when I come out and say, here's what I'm doing, well, there you go. You bring secret recording equipment in here, you're going to hear me say the exact same things I say on the camera. I don't have a teleprompter. I don't write scripts. I'm quite literally telling you how I feel in real time. That's the thing. These people are doing the same thing. And they're doing it to an audience they feel supports their view and agrees with them. The funny thing is, this guy goes on to be like, don't tell anyone what we're doing. Why would any? So I get it. Apparently when people are like, I don't know, this seems too good to be true. I'm like, my guy, evidence pointing in a direction is more likely to be confirmed than it is to be a conspiracy where you were set up. I got to say, my guy, my friends, anybody who thinks this was a setup, you're too conspiratorial. It's like, that's what I was saying about the Ron DeSantis thing, because people are like, Ron DeSantis is banning CRT and trying to get the gender ideology out of schools and shutting down, racist curriculums and wokeness. He must be a plant. And it's like, okay, if you can't accept that victory, then you may as well just lay down now and just let him steamroll over you, because would at any point you win the thing you're trying to get, you claim it's too good to be true and thus it must be a conspiracy? Come on. Project Veritas hit a grand slam with this story. This is crazy. And this is the reality. You have to do the work, do the investigations, and get these people on the record. And that's what Project Veritas has been doing. So be it this story and the horrifying reality. Because look, Cassandra wrote this one up. Cassandra, it's not just about Project Veritas. It's about them doing monkey experiments. Cassandra likes monkeys, Yeah, it's about them doing animal experimentation. It's about them potentially making more deadly viruses. And this guy even saying he believes that's how COVID got out in the first place, because he said there's no way this thing started naturally. That's another big thing here. A guy from Pfizer saying he thinks the lab leak theory is the correct theory as to the emergence of COVID. And thus, I will say this to you, my friends. It's not too good to be true. Right now, you have people who are saying that they think the vaccine is the cause of, died suddenly or whatever. I'm not so sure. I don't know if I agree with that, right? I think first, I know, I say it all the time, partly because you're supposed to, but also because I do think it matters. Find a trusted medical professional to explain any of this to you. What I'm trying to say is, this guy comes out and claims in an undercover camera, he thinks they were doing gain-of-function research and it lab leaked. In which case, is it not possible that the cause of the death is literally just COVID. If it was an engineered virus, maybe not as a bioweapon, and then it leaked, and then people started getting sick and dying, kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Then you're asking yourself, yeah, but then they start pushing this vaccine. How did they have the vaccine ready so fast? My guy, this guy's explaining to you that they mutate viruses on purpose to make vaccines for them to make money. So, like, is it possible that COVID leaked from a lab accidentally because they were doing exactly this, and they said, oh, crap, well, we have the vaccine. Now think about what that means. It's also entirely possible they said, why don't we just release the virus so that we can use the vaccine? I do think that's less likely. I'm sorry. I just really, really do. Because I don't think the world has supervillains. I don't know. I'm not a virologist. I can't tell you about the origins of the virus. I don't know. That's why I'm just like, bro, don't take medical advice from me or anybody else. I don't want to be responsible for how you deal with your health. Unless I'm saying something like losing weight's probably good for you. All I can really say is Veritas got this guy from Pfizer saying these things. Take it with a grain of salt, assess it as best you can, and make decisions for yourself. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.